Compound Direct is driven by an incredibly flexible and easy to use calculation system. Compound Direct is strength first. This means the final quantity in grams or mils is calculated at the end of the process. What this means for you is that Compound Direct will ensure your products have the correct amount of active ingredient regardless of which batch is used. Today we're going to provide a brief overview of the Compound Direct calculation system and how it tackles some common problems. In this case, we're going to start with a capsule formulation with progesterone, vitamin D3, and selenomethionine. Each of these ingredients have fixed measurement units. This reduces overall error and improves pharmacist checks. As we type, it will immediately calculate how much volume each active will take up within the capsule. And it's using pack stats to do that. Those pack stats live on the ingredient batch, and we can see them when we look at the calculations. Here we can see the calculated percentage is derived from the strength, the adjustment factor, and the pack stats. Within Compound Direct, the pack stats are specific to a batch, which means that if there's a different batch being used in the lab, it will use the pack stat of that batch. This means that regardless of any number or combination of batches used for the preparation, the calculations will remain accurate. Looking further, we can see the base being calculated. The base is calculated as the amount to fill the remaining volume of the capsules. And we can see that if we change the strength of an active, it immediately changes in the base. Now, if we wanted to make things a little more complex and say, what happens if we reduce the capsule size? So we can do that here. We will change the capsule size to size 3, and now it's recalculated based on the pack stats stored on each of the batches being used. Now we can see here that it won't fit in one capsule. Compound Direct is strength first. So what that means is that instead of altering the strength of the ingredients, we will split this dose across multiple capsules automatically. This makes checking much less cognitively expensive for the pharmacist, as it accurately reflects what is on the prescription. We will choose to split the dose across 2 capsules. It gives us a diagram to explain how we're going to split this dose and how much active and base is going to be in each capsule. I'm going to remove this now to run through an alternate scenario. We'll take this current formulation and see how it would work as a troche. So we can select a different dosage form. In this case, I'll pick troche and change the base to troche base. I will also add some oil for flavoring. Now we can see here that all the calculations have been done the whole time in the background. In this scenario, each ingredient has a unique displacement factor, which again is coming from the batch being used. You can see that progesterone has a displacement factor of 90%, and in this case, D3 has a displacement factor of 63%. The selenomethionine has a displacement factor of 70, and they will displace different amounts of the base. Reviewing the base calculation, it takes the final quantity of troches, wastage, as well as the displacement of the liquids and powders. Now we're not looking to make 100 troches, so I will change the final units to 30 and make sure there's 10% wastage. Immediately, it has performed all the calculations necessary to ensure the theoretical base weight is correct. Now that I'm happy with this, let's move to compounding this formulation. I've skipped a step for brevity, but now we have our first ingredient ready to scan and weigh. You can see it's recommended the current open batch for use. I will scan this batch and then we can begin weighing. Great, I've added the correct weight and I'll confirm the balanced weight. Only now will this ingredient be finally removed from the stock on hand. Next ingredient. This first batch only has 0.3 grams remaining. We'll go ahead and weigh what is left in this container. First I'll scan, weigh, and confirm. Now I will select the other batch, open it, and weigh the remainder. But wait, this new batch of vitamin D3 may have a different adjustment factor. Well, that's not a problem, as switching to a new batch will immediately recalculate to accommodate for this change in adjustment factor without affecting what is already weighed. Let's weigh and confirm that. And we'll take a step back to review the calculations. We can look at the vitamin D3 and we can see how it is used 2 batches here, and each batch has a slightly different adjustment factor. The compound direct calculation system will ensure that regardless of the batch's packstat or adjustment factor, the calculations will still remain accurate. Now lastly, the quantity required for the troche base has changed slightly. Initially, we were required to weigh 36.13 grams, but now it has changed to 36.19 grams. This is because there's a discrepancy between the theoretical weight and the practical weight. As these ingredients were weighed slightly off, the system needs to consider that when calculating our base. So the base is recalculated in real time to make sure the correct amount of troche base is being used. Now whilst we're here, we will just take a moment to review this batch of D3. As you can see here, this batch is locked. This is a mechanism that prevents change to a batch while it is in active use. As compound direct is strength first, this moves risks associated with compounding to the batch. Nearly all compounding errors will originate from the information entered here being incorrect, hence the sign-off process. Here we have multiple ways of calculating the adjustment factor, but this specific batch of D3 has an assay of 123,160 international units per gram, and the assay was not performed on an anhydrous basis, meaning the water content is not considered. Lastly, a place to upload your C of A's or any other relevant documentation.